Karen Dawson had always trusted her instincts. As a former ER nurse and now a full-time mom of two, her gut had saved more lives than she could count. But this time, the feeling wasn't about a patient or one of her kids. It was about her husband, Daniel. He was supposed to be in Chicago, business trip, 3 nights, back by Friday. They'd done this dance dozens of times. She'd kiss him goodbye at the airport, handle the house solo for a few days, and welcome him home with his favorite, lasagna. It was routine, predictable, but this time it wasn't. The first red flag was subtle, a missed goodnight call. Then a strange delay in his replies. When he finally texted, his words felt distant, cold, like someone trying to sound normal. Karen brushed it off. He's tired, meetings all day. She told herself not to spiral, but at 3 a.m., wide awake and pacing the living room, she finally gave in. She pulled up the tracking app they'd both installed after that one time he lost his phone. During a fishing trip, it was meant for emergencies, but what she saw felt like one. Daniel wasn't in Chicago. His phone was pinging from a nowhere town 2 hours away, outside a dilapidated motel off Highway 48. Karen stared at the dot blinking on the map. She didn't hesitate. Throwing on a hoodie and grabbing her keys, she slid into the car. The kids were still asleep upstairs. She left a note, just in case. "Quick errand. Be back soon." The drive was a blur. Her hands clutched the wheel tighter with every mile. Her thoughts raced faster than her car. Is he hurt? Was he in an accident? Why wouldn't he call? The motel came into view around 5:20 a.m. It looked even worse in person. Flickering neon sign, chipped paint, a sagging roof. But there it was, Daniel's. Silver Honda Accord, parked under a broken streetlight. Karen's heart thudded against her ribs. Her breath came shallow as she stepped out, the gravel crunching beneath her sneakers. She made her way to the car, empty, cold, no sign of him inside. She scanned the windows of the motel. Room 7 had its curtain drawn. A sliver of yellow light glowed beneath the door. What am I doing, she thought. What am I about to find? Still she knocked, no answer. Then she knocked again, louder. "Daniel!" Footsteps inside. Then silence. Finally the door creaked open, but it wasn't Daniel. It was a woman, early 30s, hair tied back, looking both surprised and wary. Karen blinked. I'm looking for my husband, Daniel Dawson. This is his car." The woman glanced over Karen's shoulder, then opened the door wider. "You'd better come inside." The room smelled of mildew and cheap soap. The woman pointed toward the corner, where a large duffel bag sat next to a set of crutches. Beside it, on the bed, Daniel's jacket. Karen took a shaky breath. "Where is he?" The woman hesitated. "He was here. Left yesterday afternoon. Said he'd be back." "Who are you?" Karen's voice cracked. The woman gave her a long look. "I'm the one he saved." "Saved?" Karen's mind reeled. Saved her from what? And why hadn't he told her a single thing? If the person you loved most started living a life you didn't know about, how far would you go to find the truth? The woman's name was Lila. She wore oversized flannel and slippers and spoke with a kind of exhaustion Karen hadn't heard in someone before, not even in the ER. She poured Karen a cup of stale motel coffee and sat across from her at the tiny table by the window. "You don't know?" Lila asked softly, almost cautiously. Karen shook her head, arms folded across her chest. "All I know is my husband told me he was in Chicago, but clearly he's not, and he hasn't been. So, no, I don't know." Lila's eyes fell to the floor. "He didn't want to get you involved. Said you and the kids, you deserve to stay safe." "Safe from what?" Lila glanced toward the door, then spoke like she was measuring each word. "Daniel found me at the gas station outside town. I'd been trying to escape someone, a man I thought I'd left behind years ago, but he found me again." Karen's jaw clenched. "So my husband, what, just decided to become your personal bodyguard?" No, he didn't decide anything. He just helped. According to Lila, Daniel had pulled into the gas station for a coffee when he noticed a man harassing her in the parking lot. She looked bruised, terrified. Daniel intervened, called the sheriff, gave her a ride to this motel while she figured out her next steps, but that was 4 days ago, and now Daniel was gone. Karen sat still, her hands wrapped around the warm coffee cup, even though her stomach churned. So why the lies? Why pretend he was in Chicago? Lila didn't answer right away. Then she leaned in, voice barely above a whisper. Because the man I'm running from isn't just dangerous. He's connected. Cops don't touch him. Judges look the other way. I think Daniel knew. I think he stayed behind to draw attention away from me. Karen looked at the duffel bag, the crutches, the scuffed-up sneakers by the bathroom door. All Daniel's, all left behind. He had been here, he had stayed, but he'd never told her why. Suddenly, Lila's phone rang. A burner. She answered it, her face growing pale. "He's coming," she said, barely hanging up. "I think he knows where I am." Karen's pulse jumped. "Who? That man?" Lila nodded. "I have to go. If he finds me here, I'm done." Karen stood up. "I'm coming with you. You shouldn't." "I'm not asking." They packed what little Lila had and loaded it into the back of Karen's car. As they pulled out of the gravel lot, Karen's eyes scanned every parked vehicle, every turn in the road. She didn't know exactly what was happening, but she knew one thing. Daniel hadn't abandoned her. He'd shielded someone else from the darkness, and maybe now that darkness was coming for both of them. If your partner suddenly disappeared to protect a stranger, would you feel betrayed or proud? And how far would you go to protect them in return? Karen didn't know where she was going, just that she had to keep moving. The sun had barely crested the horizon, casting an orange tint over the winding road ahead. Lila sat beside her, shaking. Silently, holding her burner phone in one hand and a folded photo in the other. "Who is he?" Karen asked, breaking the silence. "This man you're running from." Lila hesitated before answering. "His name's Vince Harrow, small-time enforcer for a bigger group that runs things upstate. I left him 2 years ago, changed my name, started fresh. But you don't really get away from men like him." Karen glanced sideways. "So Daniel just drove into your life and decided to fight your demons for you?" Lila gave a broken laugh. "I didn't ask him to. He didn't even tell me his name at first. But he stayed. He listened. He checked in on me every day. Said he'd seen too many women who didn't survive guys like Vince." Karen felt a lump rising in her throat. That was Daniel, quiet protector. The man who once stayed up all night with a stranger's dog after hitting it by accident, refusing to leave until it was okay. The man who'd never back away from someone in pain. "He mentioned a cave," Lila said suddenly. Karen blinked. "What?" "A few days ago. Said if anything happened, I should go there. Some kind of landmark near Black Ridge with old carvings or something. I think he meant it as a last resort." Karen's hands tightened on the wheel. She knew that area. Daniel's family used to camp there when he was young. There was a cave with ancient markings, a hidden spot off the trail where he took her once years ago. It wasn't on any map. Karen made a hard right. "You think he's hiding there?" Lila asked. "I think if he left a trail for you to follow, that's where it leads." They reached the Black Ridge Preserve by mid-morning. Karen parked off the dirt path, and the two women made their way through the thick woods. The forest was quiet, except for the occasional bird call and the crackle of twigs underfoot. When they reached the cave's mouth, Karen's heart pounded. So loudly it echoed in her ears. She stepped inside first. The space was cold and smelled of damp earth and moss. Carvings lined the stone walls, faded etchings of names, dates, and strange symbols from centuries past. In the far corner, beneath a thin blanket and a backpack, Daniel's jacket, still damp from the morning dew. Karen rushed forward. "Daniel?" "No." Reply, then she saw it, a journal half hidden under the blanket. She opened it with trembling fingers. The first page read, "If you found this, you're in danger, but I'm alive." Karen's eyes scanned the rest. Pages of hand-drawn maps, lists of phone numbers, coded names, and detailed accounts of movements and threats. This wasn't just a good deed. Daniel was in the middle of something huge, and he'd left her clues to follow. But where had he gone? If someone left behind breadcrumbs in the shadows, would you follow, even if it led you straight into danger? Karen stayed at the cave until dusk. With Daniel's journal pressed to her chest and Lila by her side, she studied every detail, the strange codes, the half-written notes, the names. There were phrases like "Redbird safe" and one circled entry, "If it reaches day 6, call Wren." She turned to Lila. "Who's Wren?" Lila's face went pale. "He used to be in the same unit as Daniel, some kind of tactical recon team. Daniel told me once, if I ever felt cornered and couldn't reach him to find Wren, he didn't give me a number, just a word, Wren." Karen pulled out her phone and typed the word into Daniel's contact list. Nothing. Then she remembered. Daniel kept a second phone, his old one from before they were married, still connected but barely used. It was hidden in his toolbox in the garage. "We're going home," Karen whispered. "He left us more than a trail. He left us a way back to him." Back at the house, with the kids asleep upstairs and Lila sitting quietly in the kitchen, Karen tore through the garage, dust, rust, wrenches, and then, beneath an old stack of paint cans, Daniel's cracked burner phone. It had one missed call. From Wren. She hit redial. A gravelly voice answered. "How did you get this number?" Karen hesitated. "My name is Karen Blake. Daniel is my husband. I think he's in trouble." Silence. Then, "Meet me at mile marker 12 on Route 6. Come alone." She didn't tell Lila, didn't wake the kids. Just grabbed the journal and drove. Route 6 was pitch black by the time she reached it. Her headlights hit a man leaning against a motorcycle, grizzled, scarred, but alert. He had a military stance, one hand never far from his waist. "You really—" "Daniel's wife?" he asked. Karen nodded. "Where is he?" "He's alive, but barely. He stayed behind to get intel on Harrow's operation. He was trying to shut it down from the inside. He thought if he helped the right people disappear, Lila included, he could expose the whole system." Karen's knees weakened. "Why didn't he tell me?" Wren's eyes softened. "Because he didn't want you to carry it. He knew you'd follow him, and that would have made you a target." Karen whispered, "I already am." Wren handed her a folded sheet. Coordinates, a remote shack near the river bend. He said if anyone could find him, it would be you. Karen drove until sunrise. The shack was nearly invisible, surrounded by brush. She stepped inside, and there he was, Daniel, bruised, bandaged, but alive. He turned as she entered, stunned. "Karen!" She ran to him, collapsing into his arms. "You left without saying goodbye. I thought I was protecting you." Karen smiled through tears. "You were, but I never needed protection from you. I needed the truth." He held her close, whispering apologies, promises, and the softest "I missed you" she'd ever heard. The danger wasn't over, but they'd face it together now, with the truth and with the strength they'd both forgotten they had. If your partner risked everything to protect a stranger, would you forgive them or fight by their side? If this story moved you, don't let it stop here. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Tell us, what would you have done in Karen's place? And follow for more real stories that hit where it hurts. Some secrets break us, others bring us back to the ones we love.